G'day folks, and it's that time of the week again. And this week, a very, very special Father's Day special with a little bit of extra flavouring. I got two guests who have just been magnificent in my support of promoting fishing worldwide. We're joined by Starlo, Steve Starling. Well, you know what I think of him. He's magnificent. And a young boy called Shroom on Shroom Fishing. Have a little bit of a look at him. I tell you what, he's the future of what our great sport's all about. And Steve, happy Father's Day to you. And I noticed that coming up, you and Tom are going to just show us what good fun fishing with your father and your son is. I hope that came out all right. Over to you, Starlo.
Thanks for that, Rex, and welcome to the Fishing Hub for another one of these COVID lockdown live streams. This is the third in the series, and we know you've enjoyed the first two. We've got a lot in store for you tonight. We're going to dig back into the old Rex Hunt Fishing Adventures archives and show you some historical stuff, and we're also going to show you some much more modern material. We're going to focus a lot tonight on the state that's doing it the toughest at the moment due to lockdown, and that's New South Wales. So we're going to have some New South Wales segments, but we're also celebrating the fact that it's Father's Day coming up this weekend, and that gives us a chance to look back at fishing with our own dads, or if we're dads, the kids that we've taken fishing. And I've had an absolute ball taking mine fishing over the years. Some great memories there, and I'm about to share some more of those memories with you because I want to show you a segment from the Rex Hunt show nearly 30 years ago, when I took my young bloke Tom, who was about 10 or 11 at the time, chasing golden perch or yellowbelly on bait at Lake Windamere in central western New South Wales. We normally chase them on lures, but I wanted to introduce Tom to some bobbing for them with bait, and we had an absolute ball doing it. Have a look. This is Lake Windamere in central western New South Wales, not too far from Mudgee. And I've tied the boat up about 20 or 30 metres out from the bank and in about 3 or 4 or 5 metres of water. There's a dense weed bed inside us, and there's a lot of standing timber around here, as you can see, trees that drowned when the lake first filled back in the 1980s. This is great structure for fish. There are a lot of native fish in this lake: Murray cod, golden perch and silver perch. And today we're going to have a go at fishing for them with bait. I'm here with my son Tom. Tom, you enjoy freshwater fishing, what, as much as saltwater?
Probably as much.
And you like lure fishing, I know, but you enjoy a bit of bait soaking from time to time, don't you? Well, I'm going to show you a few tips today because I know you've fished with a bit of bait before, but we're going to try some different baits today. Now, I know you've used the old earthworm. They're one of the best baits around, but I want to show you a little tip for when you put them on the hook. A lot of people just get one worm and push it right up around the hook. This is the way I want you to put worms on. It's much more effective. Just get the point of the hook and snick it through the body of the worm, run it through for just a centimetre or so, and then bring it out again. And look at the way he wiggles, and you get another couple of worms. Don't be afraid to use a few. You know, we've got plenty of worms. People try and get away with just one worm on the hook. You're much better off to have all these dangling ends hanging off. Do you reckon that'll look pretty good to a fish?
Yeah.
See, they'll keep wiggling like that once it gets in the water. And that's the way to do it, just a centimetre or so on the hook with each one. Now I've got Tom's sinker running right down and sitting on top of his hook because the technique we're going to use today is called bobbing. And it's a very effective freshwater bait fishing technique. Righto Tom, no need to cast this, just drop it straight down there beside us because we're sitting in amongst all this timber. The fish are probably right underneath us. Now I'm going to use another very effective freshwater bait, and that's a crayfish or yabby. I've caught these out of a local farm dam and I've been keeping them alive just in a damp hessian sack, and they're a fantastic bait, especially for Murray cod, big golden perch and also redfin. Now again, I'm rigged up with the sinker running right down onto the top of the hook. It's about a number 10 hook, and what I'm going to do is just double the tail of the yabby over like this, take the point of the hook and run it through the tail, bring it right out like that, and I've got the yabby hanging right off the hook and the sinker sitting down on top of it, as you can see. Now that yabby will stay alive for quite a long time like that, and his legs are moving and his claws waving around. Some people break the claws off, but on a small yabby like this, I'm happy enough to leave the claws on. On a big one, I probably would break them off because the yabby will stand up and tend to fight the fish off as it's trying to eat it. Okay, now it's a matter of lowering this down to the bottom, again, straight under the boat. I'm going to free spool the reel. You open your bail arm, Tom, And we'll let our line down until it hits the bottom. It shouldn't be too far down. I think we're in about 5 metres of water here, maybe 6. Down, down, down we go. Maybe 7 metres. There we go. Okay, it's on the bottom now. You're on the bottom. Now close your bail arm. Now we just lift the line up. Wind a little bit of line up, Tom, until you can just feel the weight of the sinker and you know that it's just off the bottom. That's it. Perfect. Now what we're going to do, and this is why it's called bobbing, is just lift our rod tip up and you'll feel the sinker bouncing up and down on the bottom. Can you feel that? Can you feel it hit the bottom? So lift and drop, and if you lose contact with the bottom, just let out a little bit more line. Sometimes it'll drop into a hole. There we go.